This can increase the risk of a heart attack over 2,000% within the first 24 hours. Now, you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? What increases the risk of heart attacks by that much? Could it be bad diet? Nope. Could it be smoking? No. What about alcohol? No. This trigger that I'm about to talk about also increases the risk of getting viral infections and autoimmune diseases. So what is this trigger? It's actually stress, but the type of stress that increases heart attacks the most is losses. A loss of a significant person in your life. And they actually have a name for it. It's called a broken heart syndrome. What they found was that when you go through a loss, your risk for heart attack within the first 24 hours goes up significantly. Within the first week, your risk for heart attacks are 6x. That's 600%. So this got me thinking into other types of stresses, like post-traumatic stress disorder and the risk of developing autoimmune diseases by 46%. And I'm also going to talk about a lot of stress that people have nowadays is actually manufactured. Stress can be physical, it can be mental, it can be real, or imagined. Even thinking about a stressful state can affect your body physically. You're not in that stressful environment, but just thinking about it, your blood pressure will start to increase. When I first met my wife, we went to this fair and they had a roller coaster. She loves roller coasters. She thrives on roller coasters. She can do the most intense roller coaster that you can possibly imagine. I can't even do the small baby ones, right? I'm a wimp. And of course, I didn't want to look like a wimp. So I got on the roller coaster with her. And I remember getting into the cart and they put this thing over you and they lock you in. My pulse rate started beating, boom, boom, boom. And as we're going up this slow hill and I see on the other end, it's like a drop off. My blood pressure, my adrenaline starts kicking in more and more. And I started holding on really, really tight to the point I was shaking. My wife's looking over at me going, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And I was literally in pure terror. We get up to the top. You can't even see where you're going, right? And my wife said, your face was white as a ghost. What that means when your face is that pale is you've lost all your blood flow. Okay. All the blood is in the bottom of your feet. So as we went over the roller coaster going down, I think I passed out. I mean, there was like tears coming down from my eye. My wife said, I'm so sorry. I will never do that again. I will never force you to get on the roller coaster. And I'd never been on a roller coaster ever since that. I also had a severe fear of public speaking. Devastating. There's certain types of stresses that people actually can tolerate, other people can't. So there's two main types of stress. There's the type of stress that's acute or sudden, and then there's the chronic stress that happens over a period of time. But both of them can create similar problems. And what happens when you actually experience stress, you have two things going on. You have a higher level of adrenaline, which then activates something else called cortisol. So cortisol is a hormone. Adrenaline is a neurotransmitter. Adrenaline works very quickly. Cortisol takes some time. It starts mobilizing the sugar for quick energy, whereas adrenaline mainly works on the heart rate, sweating, blood pressure, and also constriction of blood in certain places, because we need to put the blood into the heart and the lungs. And this is why even when someone has a heart attack, right, when their arteries are clamping down, they can inject the heart with adrenaline, and it's a vasodilator. It opens it up. The same thing with someone having an asthma attack. They'll take a cortisol inhaler and that will vasodilate the lungs. But what happens in chronic stress is you start getting this high level of cortisol. Cortisol is a natural suppressant of your immune system. And this leaves you wide open for getting infections because you just now lost the barrier. This is why stress lowers your defenses and allows the virus to invade the body. This is also why so many people develop autoimmune diseases after a stress event, especially if the stress is intense enough or a shock to the system where literally you just shut down a part of the immune system that is supposed to keep these autoimmune diseases in check, especially a specific cell called the T regulatory cell. Those cells are kind of like the peacekeeper, and they tend to keep the body from developing this self-attack. It's called an autoimmune attack from your own immune system destroying your own body cells. So that's interesting. That also explains why stress really can activate so many problems with the immune system. And of course, with heart attack and stroke, we're dealing with adrenaline. What you have to realize is stress activates adrenaline, which activates clotting, and other problems related to the cardiovascular system. Like I said before, you don't even necessarily have to have real stress in front of you. It can be you trying to sleep and you're running through all sorts of scenarios, but some things can get overwhelming and they can shock our body. And I'm going to talk about some great solutions for that as well. Without getting into the details of that, generally I think you know what I'm talking about when there's certain people or groups that are basically making your environment more dangerous, or at least perceived to be dangerous, creating a real or fake emergency, exaggerating a crisis. All of these things are meant to put people in fear, because usually the group that's creating that problem has a solution that now you're going to be dependent on. And really the key word in this whole thing is control. There's good stress and bad stress, and it all really has to do with who's in control of that stress. Because there are certain stresses that are very therapeutic to us, right? Like exercise, where we're in control. So sometimes we think that if we can just get rid of all of our stress and our problems, we'd be very, very healthy. But that's not actually true. One would be high intensity interval training. I mean, that actually increases stress. It increases adrenaline. It increases cortisol, but you're only doing it for a very short period of time. Another stress that's super therapeutic for me is rock climbing. Now that's intense. You're going straight up and vertical. You're at great heights. And when I climb, my attention is totally in the present on the next thing I am going to put my hand on. If I'm thinking about any problems in my mind, they are gone within the first few minutes because I am more focused on something else. So it's really what you do with your attention, because the therapeutic goal should be to get you out of your head and to take your attention and unfixate it to what you're focused on and push it to something else. Sports, that's a great therapy because it's a game. It's easy to get your attention off your problems when you're doing sports. Another thing to do is work with wood, very therapeutic. Cleaning, gardening, dancing, music, art, and physical manual work around your house. All of that is super therapeutic for stress. If you're in a stress mode, you start to breathe in a certain way. This is a way to control your own autonomic nervous system, and it works like a charm. And what you do is you breathe through your nose, not your mouth. As you breathe in and you breathe out, this is a great technique to pull you out of a panic attack or an anxiety attack. But again, it's you now controlling your own breath. That's really the secret sauce of that. And also taking certain nutritional things like an adaptogen. Ashwagandha is one of the better ones. Ashwagandha helps increase your tolerance to stress. It calms the nerves. B1 you can get also in nutritional yeast. And then magnesium is another one that I use as well, especially in the evening before I go to sleep. It winds you down. It helps in many different ways related to stress and cortisol. But there's one more thing you can do that I used to do this in practice, and now I do videos on how to do it yourself. And you can manually do some acupressure to certain points in your body that will greatly reduce your stress. It will literally put you to sleep when you do it. It's wonderful. And for that information, you can check it out right here.